Starting recording. All right, and we're live. Evan,
Hey, what's good? Good to see you.
good to see you. We've been planning this for a while now. It's actually, uh, I have it. Give me 1 second. Right here. This is back from when I was when I was first wanting to do podcast episodes, and like I just kind of had the microphone, and I think you got this for me for what was it for a birthday?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So you can see right there the on with
Oh,
J cap.
geez, yeah.
How'd you make this?
Um, I think I was at Michael's, and I remember you were talking about how you were gonna start up a podcast. You had videos up, not of yourself yet, but
Yeah.
audio on Spotify, and you were talking about how eventually, hopefully, you can get on to YouTube or other platforms. And I think at that time, I don't think Spotify had any video at all. Uh,
No,
so
I don't
it
think
was
so.
it was a while ago, and hopefully I'm a little bit better at drawing now. But yeah, because you have in your spare time, right? You design. You have fan of soccer, and you have
Mm.
a gift for that. And I thought, oh, like I took actually your design and made it on a little thing that you could I don't know, just like a
Yeah,
little
no,
touchy feely thing to say I support you.
it's really cool because I mean I didn't. So for people that don't know, you and I met at Newman at UCR, and right, yeah, it's like um, and that was around well, 2020. I would join the Zoom, but I think it was around 2021 that we were kind of talking more, and when I like told you about the podcast. So I think this dates back to 2021. And at the time
Yeah,
of this episode, it's what is it, May 18 of 2024. So yeah, it's older than some children. I don't
yeah,
know which children, but it's definitely older than some children. So I think that's a good place to start. Um, yeah, maybe we could talk a little bit about that. About so you and I met at UCR through the Catholic Club, the Newman Center, Catholic Student Fellowship. Um, how long had you joined already by the time that I met you, which would be 2021? When did you graduate before you go into that?
2022 is when I walked.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
so however, I joined the Newman Center in 2018. Graduated high school 2018, Brea, um, California,
Mm.
and my mom is very supportive, and she would go to the parent orientation type deal, and my dad went to, and she would go to the clubs, different club fair type deal that was
This is
on
like the
campus.
tabling?
Tabling, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. During the orientation. So like while I was getting my school orientation for what resources available on campus, they were getting a similar thing for the parents to say like, oh, what's the best way perhaps to support
Mm.
your child and what are ways that you can get active in their academic career as well. And so it was happening at a similar time. And when there would be gaps in between the sessions, she would go to the tabling session for the clubs, and she actually went to the Catholic Student Fellowship table. I walked right by it. I didn't see it there. I didn't see it there, but she signed me up for it, and she's like, hey,
Mm.
Evan, like, I signed you up for this club," and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." I mean, I knew people that went to UCR because they were in my band in high school, but I mean, like UCR, different majors, different classes,
Yeah.
and so I thought, I guess it's something I'll go to. I wasn't, I was practicing Catholic, but
You
I
were, you
guess
weren't.
I was,
You were.
but I was not as devout as I am today.
Yeah.
I was a Sunday mass goer. It's not that I hated going or anything. You know, like after long days, I would fall asleep in mass or stuff. But
Yeah.
uh, I tend to do that less now. So
No, that's good. So no, I think I get that sentiment too. I feel at the beginning, especially when you start taking it seriously, at least how it was for me, it's I know this is important because it's part of the faith, but then as you start going uh, and learning more, you see why it's important. So then dozing off becomes kind of uh, a more difficult option at times, or at least one to fight off more resiliently. But do you remember who was at the Newman Club at that time, like tabling and stuff?
well, my mom told me that she's like, oh yeah, there was these two girls that were tabling, and I think it was Amor and Eliana. And
Eliana
because later on, Eliana was like, "Oh yeah, I met your mom." I was like, "Oh, nice." It's like,
was was Jair there at the time?
she didn't mention Jair. I did. So
And for
after
those
my
that don't
mom,
know, Jair was the president for like a long time at the Newman Center, which I'll probably have him on sometime. But yeah, sorry, go on.
I know his name. Um, so after my mom, right, signed me up for the mailing list and what
Mm.
have you, I got the welcome week email, and one of the first events was a scavenger hunt. And at that scavenger hunt, I met Jair.
Gotcha. Okay, so he was already there. Yeah, because I remember when I was walking around for my orientation because I think we stayed what 2 days for orientation.
Something like that,
It's
yeah.
like for sure at night, and there is a tabling thing, and I saw a Catholic tabling, and I saw this. I was like, oh, this is a man with this girl, and I think it's Eliana, and I was like, oh, that must be the advisor because I figured it had to be someone older,
Mhm.
and later when I'm like I finally do get to so I put my information down. They never emailed me. And I later talked to them and they said, yeah, there was a time when we lost like a bunch of the names because of the wind. Um but I came later to discover that that older man that I had seen was Jair.
Yeah.
I always tell him to this day. So I and he's a veteran from Newman, so that's why I was also wondering if he was there. This is it 2019 or 2018?
Me, I was 2018 is when I started.
2018.
So he's probably been there maybe a little bit
Oh, that
longer
makes
than me.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Because I graduated high school 2019. I was thinking about it like this is so long ago, but I forget. It's like a year difference.
Yeah. We're not that much in difference in age.
Yeah, I forget. Okay. So it was kind of your mom that got you into it, but and you said you were already kind of practicing. Has that always been the case, or is it kind of was it like I don't want to use the word tradition, but was it like kind of routine thing that you had going on, or a personal conviction kind of thing?
um, I would say that my my mom's side is more practicing than my dad's
Mm,
side. My dad, he was Methodist, and he converted later on to Catholicism, not because he had this deep dive or study or anything, but because one day when we were at church, me and my sisters were like, "Hey, how come Dad doesn't receive the Eucharist?" I don't know what we refer to it as, maybe host or and my parents talked, and eventually he went. But my mom, yeah, she would volunteer at the First Communion at the church, um, and she got me into the routine of going to mass, and it was something that I knew that was kind of important that maybe you shouldn't mess around with,
mm,
but I kind of just went because my parents my parents went. Like if there was a time where um, I was camping for Boy Scouts, I would always like think like, oh, okay, yeah, like even after we come back Sunday, we'll make it to 5 p.m. mass for after
Mm-hmm.
the camping trip on Sunday. Um, so it's like kind of like it's something that's important enough to always make time for.
Yeah. Would you say that? Because I definitely I feel like I shared in that when I was growing up. Um, for me, I think it was the aspect of this is something that's for God, and whatever my notion of God at the time was, I was like, well, it's God, so it must be important, and so like that was good enough reason. But it was also my parents told me to do it, so um, you know, I'm not gonna tell them no, and not in a kind of like they're dragging me along kind of way, but just kind of a trust in my parents. Was your routine rooted a bit in that, or would you say you were driven a bit more by essentially God of that desire to like, even if you didn't know exactly what it was there more of the desire to do it for God or to do it for your parents?
I've never thought about that, but I would say that God definitely would be working through it, even if it was because of my parents. My I would say it had to do with God, but maybe an example would be like even if my parents weren't around, I
Mm.
would still I wouldn't be afraid to say, "Oh yeah, I'm Catholic,"
Yeah,
or if someone were to like talk bad about Catholics, I'd be like, "Oh," like, and I would kind of push back on them, even though I didn't know why. But it's kind of
yeah,
like if someone were to make fun of like your race or like
yeah,
of like how you look,
or
I
of a
took it
parent.
as something like a part of who I am, and so
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I get that. Especially, I feel like those were the moments where I kind of realized I cared more about my faith than I actually gave myself credit for. When in high school, I'd hear people make jokes about God or about um, priests or anything like that. I'd be like, "Come on, man! Like that's not cool." But then when I would ask myself, like, "Why isn't that cool?" It was kind of like, okay, there's something more here than just this is something that my parents brought me up with. And even then, after my first communion, uh I was not much of a Sunday goer unless it was Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday we were always in line for to get those ashes. So that's really cool to hear that you've had that instilled in you for from a young age. How old were you when the conversion of your dad happened?
Um, Middle school,
Middle school.
probably
Do you feel like
12.
that played a role at all in continuing or at least wanting to continue?
No, I don't think
No.
so. My my dad, he always went to mass and stuff, but um, I don't think. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but um, I think we asked him for a reason, like, hey, like, why isn't our dad doing this important thing that we're also like doing, like the
Yeah.
receiving Eucharist. So I think he probably played a part, but
But
my
it
dad
seems more
wasn't
like
really
it was
involved. Like, sorry, go ahead.
it seems like it was more like the reverse rather than him playing a part in your deepening. It was kind of like you guys played a part in his deepening. It kind of seems.
I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
because I didn't grow up like praying with him or something. Like, even sometimes when we're eating, um, he'll pray over the meals for us, but a lot of times we don't pray together, or we don't, it's not the things that we do together are other things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And has that, if I may ask, has that been more has that been less the case that you guys pray more often together, or after the conversion? Was there a kind of more um another uniting factor, like you guys pray together kind of thing? I mean, you'd have in common that now you guys are all receiving. So did was there a shift there?
It was a long time ago. I don't remember like, oh, like I prayed 5 times a week with him before he, and then 7. But I do think that it is good that um, we do pray before meals and that he comes to mass with us,
Yeah.
and that yeah.
I have a lot of other questions that like you know we went over it, but this brings up an interesting topic that I'm bound to ask you because it's May 18 and we're like 2 or 3 days after the Butker video, the football player, um, talking a little bit about masculinity and femininity. It might, it's not directly in reference to the video, but it does. It's been in the air, the topic. What what would your views be on kind of the interfaith scene in terms of courting and eventually marriage? Because I think you were there when we were at Newman for it was a St. Valentine's Day meeting, and then we did like a Socratic seminar, and we were talking about like, oh, would you ever date someone who's not Catholic?
Mhm.
And one of the things that Butker said in the speech was, if they're not the same faith as you, how do you expect to become saints together or something along those lines? That brought up something in me that I was like, that's a really good point. So I just kind of wanted to, kind of explore your mind on that topic, especially because you have a bit of a personal connection with it from before. Like, what are your thoughts on mixing faiths?
Mhm. So pretty much, I'm okay with dating a Protestant or someone from another faith. Um, but honestly, I haven't seen the entire the Butker video. But I go on my phone a lot. But usually, I try and not fill my mind with like a lot of drama and a lot of
Yeah.
like negative things. I mean, it winds up in there, and I I'm a sucker sometimes too. But it's just
You're a
sometimes
what?
I'm a sucker.
Oh, I heard stalker. I was
Oh
like,
no,
what is that?
no, I'm not one of those.
No, yeah, yeah.
But so like sometimes like I'll fall for it. The headlines are
Yeah.
like, oh wow, that seems pretty good, and I'll. But sometimes I just like, man, that's just gonna make me like put me in a bad mood, or just gonna.
Yeah.
But because I don't like reading the comments and people are like, oh, like, well, what's wrong with you? Or what about this? Or it's like
Yeah.
kind of like stresses me out, kind of, you know. But for my opinion is that the church allows that people from other faiths to be married, although it might be harder for some other people. Perhaps also my parents might be an example of it, right? Because my dad was Methodist, my mom's Catholic. My both my grandparents, my grandpa was Catholic and my grandma was Methodist, because she gave it to my dad. And then on my mom's side, my papa was Baptist and now he's Catholic, and my my nana was Catholic, right? And so maybe that's also why I might not think it's a big deal, because
Mm.
like those are the examples I have had, um, and I'm a practicing Catholic. I do think that the surest way to heaven is through the Catholic faith,
Mm.
but I also I understand that there are aspects of truth within other faiths. There might be things that are red flags for me, like if they were to say, oh, like, hey, like, why do you got to worship um, these statues, or like why
Yeah.
are you making these saints more important than they're just people, or maybe they'll call me an idolater for the Eucharist, or maybe like things that I'm like but other people might be like, hey, like maybe they might be open to becoming Catholic, or maybe they are just a practicing Christian, because there are Catholics I know that are not practicing, and even though they're Catholic, they're good people, but there are things about like abortion or things about LGBT issues that
Yeah.
I would might want to raise my kids differently. Than I
Yeah.
might have more overlap more with a Protestant than with another Catholic. So I think that Catholicism. I don't plan on converting or anything, but also I do think that but yeah, like just like I said, yeah, I'm open to.
No, yeah, you. That's a good point. It's strange to say, but there are what seems to be some Protestants that are more Catholic than some Catholics by name are. Um, just based off some of the fundamental stuff that are held, and that some Catholics, self-identified Catholics, um, choose not to hold that the church teaches. Um, and I think that's beautiful though about the conversions in your family to Catholicism, because I feel like that's always the hope, at least, that for those that marry within different faiths. I mean, do you know George Farmer?
Hmm.
Yeah, like Candace Owens just converted to Catholicism not too long ago, and like it's beautiful to see that those kinds of conversions. Uh, Although it definitely, I imagine, would put up some difficulties than if you guys were more um, aligned in those fundamental faith values. But it's also a nice, I don't know, for to say it like that sound is a bit too simple. But I was gonna say it's a nice way to be a witness. That's a very simplistic way of describing it. But but no, yeah, you bring good points, and then obviously, I mean, it's within a Protestant and Catholic, you'll have more in common than say if it's a Catholic and a Muslim, or then you go Catholic and a Hindu or something, you know. So it also does help that. And I imagine if it's Catholic and Orthodox, then you'll have even more um, things in common. So there's definitely a lot of factors. It's just like you were saying, you're not guaranteed even agreeing on everything, even among two Catholics.
Yeah, and I don't think that it's even possible to, right? We're two different people, but I do think that there are some things that are just are important to me. I
Yeah,
can't put too much into.
non-negotiables.
Yeah, non-negotiable. Yeah.
Yeah, which is scary too. I feel like um, I've seen on Twitter people who put the screenshots of the Catholic dating apps that when you're making your profile, there's options to put the stuff that you agree with. So you have an option to put that you don't agree with the teachings on birth control, on abortion, IVF, LGBT, uh, whatever, and so on. And it's like, I imagine people go into this thinking like, I'll find someone who is Catholic, and usually Catholic, we hope would be synonymous with someone who accepts and upholds all the teachings. But that's not the case anymore, unfortunately, even at Catholic schools. So it's yeah, there's a lot of there's not even a guarantee among Catholics.
Hmm.
You you went to UCR,
Hmm.
right? And what are you doing now?
So I graduated 2022, and now I'm in dental school.
Your dental school, and that's is it a because UCR is a public university? Is where you are right now? Is it I think you said it's a predominantly Protestant school, right?
Yeah. Um, called Loma Linda. um, I guess yeah. I don't know. I just might as
Yeah,
well. People know I'm from
yes,
SoCal, the Protestant
yeah.
school.
Just
I could
dox
probably
yourself.
put
Yeah.
it together. So it's like go to Loma Linda. Um, it's a 4-year program, and it's like a Seventh Day Adventist institution.
No. Okay. Huh. Is so I don't really know like nearly anything about Loma Linda except that you go there. So I think a lot of my soon to be asked questions are gonna be kind of like, you might be like, oh, you don't know this, but so is Loma Linda just dental school, or how does that work?
So there's actually other programs there, right? There's a medical school, there's a pharmacy school, there's a dental school, there's like a school of religion,
Oh, okay.
there's a public health. I don't know if I said that, but yeah, there's I think there's eight school. There's several schools.
Do they have undergrad?
Yes.
Okay. And what you're getting right now, what what degree is, I don't know how to ask. Yeah, what are you pursuing right now?
Uh, doctor, DDS, Doctor of Dental Surgery.
Gotcha. And when are you expected or hoping to have that done?
Um, 2026.
2026. Oh, that's not too far away.
Yeah, pretty soon. Yeah, it's gonna come
That's
back sooner than we know.
that's exciting. When did
But
you say you started?
um, August 2022.
2022. Okay, yeah. So it's a 4-year program. And after that, you're gonna be able to be, you'll be considered a dentist?
Yeah, I'll be certified to practice.
That's pretty cool. Do you know where that'll take you, like where you would like to work kind of thing?
Well, actually, I signed on to like a Navy program, so I may
Oh
be
yeah.
in Coronado. I may be in East Coast. I may be in Italy, Japan. There's a lot of different places, but might be on a boat, on a ship.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
so, but then after that, it was like 3 years active, 5 years reserve, and then yeah. But I guess after the 3 years active, I plan on moving back to Inland Empire, Orange County area.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you had mentioned that. What kind of um led you to wanting to do that, to join?
So I guess a few different reasons. The honestly, the main reason was that in exchange for paying for my dental tuition, they would I would sign on for an active service. And I'm not the most patriotic person, but I am proud to be an American, and I do I guess part of it might be because I grew up in Boy Scouts, and
Hmm.
part of that structure hierarchy stuff is kind of what I know. So
Gotcha. Yeah, because I know Nathaniel is also Navy. I think Navy it
yeah,
is, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, and I feel like before Nathaniel, um, who also I would like to have on the podcast, I before Nathaniel and after you guys are the only ones who I know that that's something you guys are pursuing, and so I find it really interesting, and I become really curious because I remember last time I saw Nathan, I was just asking him a bunch of questions like, how does that work, this and this. So you'd be, what would your role be?
I'll be a dentist. Make sure
Dentist.
people don't have any large caries. Any pretty much making sure that their oral health doesn't impede their ability in any conflict that might arise. Pretty much make sure they're battle ready type deal.
Gotcha. So where your place and everything, what like where is it where you guys go?
So after right now I'm on school orders.
Okay.
There's a lot of things to learn later on, but right now, since my school has a shorter amount of breaks in between class sessions, none of the breaks are long enough for um, boot camp. And so after I graduate, I'm gonna go to Rhode Island, and
Hmm.
it's 45 days or less, and then get some basic training and get my assignment.
And when you're on Rhode Island, like what is it? I I'm struggling to find the words to ask what I want to ask, but like what's the environment like, or what yeah, like what's surrounding where you'll be? Does that make sense? Like, is it a neighborhood? Is it something that's really isolated? Is it that kind of thing?
No, it's not super isolated. It's not quite in a neighborhood. It's on a base.
It's on a base. Okay, okay, okay. Gotcha. So the reason I ask is, are there priests around?
So I was actually reading that. I think, well, I guess it was a while ago, like several months ago,
Yeah,
and there's a shortage of priests the on in the military, but I guess everywhere, right? So,
yeah,
except for Africa, other places. But um, one of my friends went to UC San Diego, and she actually said she attended mass on base before. Nearby, I think Coronado. I don't know if it was Coronado or Camp Pendleton where she attended, but attended mass. But yeah, there is that ability to go.
okay. I feel like that, like when you tell me, like obviously I'm like, oh yeah, like you're gonna be going out and uh, everything that the Navy entails. But then I'm like, wait, are you gonna be able to, are you able
Yeah,
to go to Sunday mass?
yeah.
So that's also,
You can
and I
actually go.
imagine that's something that you also looked into for the same reason of wanting to be able to. Because I feel, I mean, it'll be a very different scene, at least I from what I'm used to.
Yeah, I think what's his name? Father, the one who wrote um, Consecration to Saint Joseph.
Callaway, Father Callaway.
Yeah, Father Donald Cowley. Um, I think he had an experience on a base where he would go to mass, and I don't know.
As a
That was just
priest?
random. Before he was a priest.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was like when he was initially converting. But yeah, yeah, I did. I have heard stories like that, and I've heard stories like my friend, and um, I, yeah, I mean, definitely want to go to mass.
Yeah. You got to meet Father Callaway, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I have a picture with him.
Oh, did you
The
actually?
Holy Name of
We're
Jesus in Redlands. What's
in
up?
Redlands.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we just stay out here giving giving directions of other places. Um, yeah, that was really cool. What was that event for? Because I remember I wasn't able to go. I was sad I wasn't able to go, but I know that was he was it because of the consecration of Saint Joseph, or is it just he was just giving a talk, or
He
both?
was giving a talk. That was actually pretty cool. Like pretty much the entire church was full. He
That's
talked
awesome.
about his conversion story. It's part of like the Japanese mafia. He was on
What it where's he from? Do you know?
there. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. I was just curious. Yeah, I've never been to Holy Name of Jesus. Is it a big parish?
It's not super big. I like it
Okay.
though. It's right by my school. It's probably like 10 minutes. I've been there for Ash Wednesday. I go there Sundays sometimes. Not that often
Okay.
because there's closer um, churches where I
That's
live.
that's where Father Arenze is, huh? Father Michael
Uh,
Arenze. I think he's the priest there, and before him was Father Gino.
I don't know.
You don't?
I
Do you
don't
remember
know.
that Father Gino was there? No. Yeah, Father Gino. That's where he started off his assignment, and then Father Howe was also at Holy Name of Jesus before that. So they have a good lineup
Yeah, they have a
of
lot of.
priests.
I
Yeah.
thought I there's no father. I think his name Aaron.
Father
I don't
Aaron.
go there that often, but I think
Gotcha.
his name's Aaron or yeah.
Oh, do you remember Miguel?
Yeah,
He did that? Yeah, he's over there
the
right
magician.
now. As yeah, magician. He's over there right now. I think he's a little liturgical coordinator. So if you go, you might see him
All right. Yeah. I've seen him. I saw him on Ash Wednesday. I think
over there.
I've seen him. I've seen him around there. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that? is that the closest school you have to? I mean, the closest parish you have to your school?
The closest one is probably St. Joseph's Catholic Church, but um, they it's a not as many mass times available. From
Okay.
at least not like for the Ash Wednesday when I because after I
Yeah,
get out of school, right, like I'm there all day, and so after I think they only had their Ash Wednesday services in the morning, and I think one at
gotcha,
noon, or it was, yeah. So
gotcha. The reason I ask is that I wonder. I mean, you must have encountered other Catholics at school, right?
mhm.
Or yeah, how's
Yeah.
that? Like, how's the ratio of people you encounter that are Catholic versus, you know, do you encounter non-faith, like people without? Do you encounter atheists?
Um. Well, there's one non-practicing Catholic that he would say that he doesn't really believe in God. He said that I asked him why one time, and he's like, well, pretty much I just. He's like, well, it's kind of for a silly reason, but it's I don't want to be told kind of what to do. So
Hmm.
so I don't know. Most of the people there, there's actually one guy in my class that was pretty anti-religion, anti-Christianity,
Oh,
and
wow.
he actually doesn't go to my school anymore. First, I don't know what happened to him, but one time we made a presentation. Um,
Together?
I was in a different group,
Oh, okay.
but he made like a few slides about somehow he worked in a way to say why we shouldn't go to chapel on Wednesdays. Because he's like, oh yeah, it's just a last ditch effort to try and make us go to church, and he was like very and he was very kind of rude, very rude to that.
And I find that interesting because I mean you're you're going to it'd be the also it'd be similar to going to like CBU and being an atheist kind of thing where like you're going to a Christian school and like it makes
Yeah,
sense where you're not everybody is the same kind of Christian, but I just imagine they'd feel even more isolated perhaps as an atheist. They probably feel the way that we felt at UCR.
yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe it was the only school he got into, or maybe it was the
Yeah,
place nearby, and but yeah, he was not a fan
not a
of
fan.
chapel.
So, but you encounter more Protestants than anything.
Yeah, in fact, I think I've been asked a few times, oh, are you STA? Are you STA?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, no, I'm not.
Is
But
that a common like? I feel like my icebreaker when I meet someone is like, "Oh, do you like country music?" It is like a common icebreaker at Loma Linda if you're Seventh Day Adventist. It's like, is that quick to come into conversation?
I think it's more quick than at public university
Yeah,
because it's a religious school, right? So people assume that you're some sort of practicing Christian or something. Um, yeah.
how does that usually go when they ask you, and then you say that you're Catholic?
Um, so, well, like one person was like, "Oh yeah, for some reason I thought you were STA," and I was like, "Oh no, like STA. I've always been Catholic." And then someone else was like, "Oh, okay, yeah. Does that mean you have to be married in a church?" And I was like, well, the bishop might allow a dispensation, but yeah, like you normally, it's like within Catholic Church. So like, I don't know, stuff like that. Usually
But they
it's
come
not.
more from they come from a place of curiosity.
Yeah, usually, yeah. Even one time I was talking, he's not STA, he's Nazarene. But he was like, oh yeah, I've never met a Catholic who knew. Like,
Had you met a Nazarene before?
I know, actually I made a joke. Yeah, I haven't, but I made a joke where he went to Point Loma. I think that's a Nazarene in San Diego, Nazarene school,
Oh, okay.
university. It's a Christian school, but I think it's Nazarene. and he was like, and I wonder if one day maybe he'll find this. I don't know. But listen, but
You gotta
he
share
was
it with
like,
him after.
yeah, he's like, oh yeah, like the two dominant religions at my school were like Alberto's or Adalberto's or something, and then like Ortiz's is like carne asada fries. And so I was like, oh, and then the one of the least common ones was Nazarene. So yeah, there's not, and I haven't really heard a lot about.
Yeah, I don't think I've encountered any Nazareans. At least not that it was made known to me. You know, I might have encountered someone who they are, but they never shared it with me. So do you? I mean, I know you, but people who don't know you that might be listening wouldn't know. They see you. I think they could tell by now that you're kind of a bit more um, reserved. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
you're very what's the word? You're gentle in speaking. So I feel like that would lead people to believe that you're less likely to get into conflict.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I'm honestly, I'm not super confrontational, but I mean, I think it depends on the thing. And in fact, that he's my friend. He's like one time, because sometimes I'm kind of witty, or I try and like if someone pokes a jab at me, I'll poke back, you know.
yeah,
And and um, maybe it's not always the right thing to do, but I do it.
yeah.
But yeah, one time he was like, oh yeah, like I go by my first name or in dental school, Anthony. And he's like, yeah, Anthony, sometimes like you really seem like a kind and respectful, reserved person, but you're kind of he said something else, but I was like, oh,
You're kind of
that's
a jerk.
yeah. He didn't say jerk, but he said like he's like you could be a stand-up comedian. You're like I don't know, but
You're
yeah,
funny.
people say that sometimes, like, oh, you're witty or you're
You are witty. You are, and I feel like that's not mutually exclusive with what you give off the sensation of. Like you do give off that kind of you know warm, welcoming, non-confrontational maybe. But I mean, I know you're saying that you're not very confrontational, but I think I don't know.
I
You're
mean, I'm
definitely
not
not.
scared, but I
Yeah,
just
you're not afraid of confrontation. It's not like you'll go out like pick a verbal fight just to pick one, but I've uh when we were walking at the One Life rally in was it 2022, I think?
2021, 2022.
Yeah, we're in LA. The one thing that should be uniting Christians, you know, the fight for life, which I think is ironic that there's protesters for this that are Christian singling out Catholics. Real quick before I just find that very interesting. Like, you know, we're together in this cause to end abortion. Where there's Protestants, there's Eastern Orthodox, there's Catholics. We put aside our theological differences to like, and people think it's a good idea to go out and protest against Catholics on this event.
Yeah,
There's
Catholics
people,
going to hell.
yeah, there's people with like large signs with posters that says Catholics are going to hell, Catholics, and then with their it's like some sort of walkie-talkie thing that's connected to a speaker, so it sounds very muffled, but you could tell like Catholics are going to hell if you don't repent, and it's just like very much in your face. And we're walking, just to give context to the listeners, we're walking in it's not even a line, but it's this giant group style. We have a uniform direction that we're going to, and you encounter these people that Catholics are going to hell, and then I think I remember I was about to tell you something, and I see you walking over to them, very like you don't look angry, you don't look, but you're just like casually walking, you know, and then you go up to them, and I didn't get to hear your conversation. I just know he was responding to you angrily, and I don't know if I went to go after you because we were losing uh we got lost among the group, and I think the last thing I heard you say was, "You should check out Catholic Answers," which is like you have this gift. I feel like of when people are like very angry, you're not driven by your emotions. You're like you'll still respond well and charitably, with a good attitude, and like that's how you left that conversation. I remember you told them like you should check out Catholic Answers. You told them that's not true. You should check out Catholic Answers, and they're like, no, 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 I only need the Bible or something. And then we left. Have you always been like, I don't know, naturally inclined to be okay with that kind of conflict? Because I feel like I get really nervous with that kind of thing. Like I get shaky, and you seem like it's just another conversation to you.
I don't know. I was I was nervous, but I knew even though I was like nervous, I figured it was something I should say. I wanted to say,
Mm.
and I do try to uh,
Have
have
you
a
always?
fruit. Mm, I haven't always, I don't think, but I do always try and have the fruit, right, um,
Yeah,
of self control, and that's part of the reading tomorrow, Pentecost,
yeah,
um, and I think that it's not easy. I don't always do it, but um, I think, especially when I grew up, I mean, people have always, I've always been maybe not always the first one to initiate conversation, or not the first one to I'm not the most extroverted person, or but at the same time, I when something's important to me, I want to protect it and defend it.
yeah, yeah. Because I think you did make allusion to it earlier with when you were younger and people would make some sort of remark against your faith, you'd like kind of push back, even though you wouldn't really. I think you said you weren't sure why or something. Um, so it does seem like you do have that gift in you for a while now, because I think there's been 3 times when I've seen you do that, and then you tell me about the conversations you have at school with non-Catholics where you're not afraid to have the conversations, um, which I think is beautiful because a lot of people would just kind of. I know when I was younger, I was taught that everybody has their own beliefs. It's fine, just respect them. Uh, and now I think it's Trent Horn that says like he's like I don't respect everybody's beliefs. I respect everyone, but some people have beliefs that shouldn't be respected. And then you could go for the extreme examples of racist or anything like that. But I've seen it in you that you're very good at being cool headed and respectful. And I mean, even from a distance, I couldn't hear what you were saying, and I couldn't really understand what the guy was saying. I just know it was angry and like shouting. Even from a distance, that looks more appealing of how you are very collected, and the other person's more. Because I've seen you do it at One Life, and then you've done it at Congress more
Yeah,
recently.
there's another guy with a speaker saying we're
It
going
might have
now.
honestly been the same person or the same group.
It was a different guy, a different guy. It might have been the same group though. Yeah.
It might have been the same group, yeah.
He was This guy was alone. This and I was talking to them, and there was actually another guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just saw this guy and started following him around." Like, yeah, I agree with him. So it might have been one guy, the main guy, and then someone else, but there was like a few other
Well, they were
people
pretty
that.
spread out, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Because
I saw the.
right by the doors, there was one of them, which I don't know if that's the one that you talked to. But then you walk more toward like the parking lot by the hotel, and there's another one. And like, I think I saw a total of like 4
Oh, okay, yeah,
and heard some others. But
yeah. I saw one, and then with them was few other people. But the one guy with like he was the one towards the fountain. Okay.
yeah, I don't know if you've seen Min has a YouTube channel with someone else, and I forgot his first name, but his last name is Rubalcaba. But they talked to the people at Congress and they recorded it, and they were having a he turned off the speaker, the guy, but then when he was getting more pushback, he started again. Catholics are going to hell, and like, so it's. I feel like it's definitely something that you definitely could. All right, speaking more from my perspective or my experience, I feel like I have to train myself to be more of the way that you are, and I feel like for you, that's more of who you are, if that makes sense.
We should both try and be more like who Christ is. Yeah.
Amen,
Mhm.
amen, amen. And this is me honestly. Um, I don't. English is not my first language, so I can't remember the word in English. It's speaking my admiration to you in this sense of you going out and respectfully going and giving some pushback. What goes to your mind when you like see someone shouting and that kind of thing? Because legit, I you didn't tell me anything that time we were at Congress. You just went. So like, what happens? Like, are you like, oh, I'm gonna go say something, or are you like, he shouldn't be saying that? I don't know. What happens in your mind?
Um, well, I guess for me, I was kind of walking, right? I was actually going to confession, and
This is at Congress.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and so I was like walking on my way. I was coming from like the main like arena area to where there was another building, and where they're holding confession. And so as I was walking, there's this guy who doesn't like Catholics all that much, and I was like, oh man, like there's some time left for confession, but last time I went, there was a long line. I don't know if I'll make it. And so I was like, is it worth talking to this guy? Like, maybe I should just pray for him and just call it a day. Or maybe I should just like, maybe someone else will like come by, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of people here. It's Catholic conference. And yeah, people do come by, right? Like men
Yeah.
stop by, other people do. And so I was like, I walked by him and then like I looked back. Catholics, Catholics, not good, not good. And so I was like, yeah, I'll talk to him for a little bit. And so, but yeah, so I talked to him a little bit, and then I made it to confession too. There was a long line, and I barely had enough time. So, much more time.
What was he saying that
Well,
got your attention? I mean, obviously he got your attention because he was loud, but like, what
mhm.
was he saying, or do you remember what he was saying before you got there?
Well, things that it was offensive that we're children of Satan, that we're going to hell, that we for Babylon type
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, I was trying to talk to him, and like, hey, like, why do you believe that? And there was a a sign like, oh, ye must be born again, like John 3, and I was like, oh, like trying like, oh, how do you believe you're born again? Or and he wasn't interacting with me.
Yeah.
He kept just like turning away, tried to hand me um, pamphlets, and there was another guy standing there.
Did you
And,
take any?
yeah, yeah, I took some. Yeah. And yeah, but there was another guy standing there, and I started just talking to him instead. I was like, oh, so you're part of the group? He's like, oh yeah, like I grew up Greek Orthodox, and
Mm.
but we spend too much time towards the saints. It wasn't working for me. Like I got addicted to drugs, and I had it hard, like. But now I'm saved, and I things have been better for me, which are good things, right? Like God works
Yeah.
through other faiths. But so I started out talking to that other guy about invoking the intercession of the saints a little bit, about purgatory, about being born again, and Then eventually, the other guy, the main guy that was kind of talking, I talked to him a little bit about being born again, and he's like, "Oh, like you can't explain stuff to me. Like you're child Lucifer. Like um, you're going like." And so he's kind of like spoke really loud, kind of a lot of spit when he was talking too.
Yeah.
But and then he's like, I'm done talking. And then so like I was like, oh yeah, maybe I told him a little bit, trying to plant a seed, and
Yeah.
better just get in line for confession. So.
No, yeah. And I think that's really important too. Well, one, it also kind of brings the level of, well, at one point it's not even conversation, but it brings the audio of the voice a bit down among two people rather than just shouting it out toward everyone.
This
Um,
guy, I don't know. This guy was not bringing it
he,
down.
he wasn't budging.
No,
It wasn't the same guy in the video of that man talked to. You
I haven't seen that video, but
haven't seen that video? Okay,
yeah.
because he had stopped the thing and he was just talking to him, giving him a pamphlet and stuff. But then yeah, same thing. After a while, he turned it back on, calling them. I think yeah, I'm not gonna repeat what he called them, but it was some pretty nasty stuff. Um, yeah, hopefully he did plant that seed because in the very least, like I said earlier, from a distance you see like a very angry person who not even being hyperbolic, you could see a vein popping out with someone who seems very collected and like respectful. That from a distance, I feel bears a nice witness of just kind of you know them by their fruits kind of thing. And I know in that occasion, you might not have seen any direct effects. But one of the other things I wanted to bring up was that time that you and I were doing Alexia Divina out at a like outdoor mall.
Victoria Gardens.
Yeah,
I should not say the places. But
that's okay. We can say it. Yeah, we were at Victoria Gardens, and we were sitting outside. We just had our Bibles out. We were like sitting out in front of each other, and we had our Bibles. And I don't even know if we had started yet. And an older couple walks by. And do you remember what he said?
he's like, "Oh, you guys reading the Bible? That's great, guys. Like, keep it up." Or stuff like that. That type of
Something like
sentiment.
that, yeah. Which is honestly pretty sweet. Like it was encouraging. Although I had a feeling when he was saying that, he was like, "Yeah, it's very nice seeing people your age." And I think he asked us what church we go to, huh? Yeah, and then we were like, both of them started with Saint,
Yeah.
and you can slowly see like the smile kind of go away,
He's like, "You
and
guys are Catholic?"
yeah, and it was like, and it was an interaction that was, it was pretty humorous in the moment. That kind of like saying like, oh, he's not gonna like that we're Catholic, and it's humorous now, but it seems something that would have been really trivial, and I forgot how he was leaving because I think he tried making some sort of objection, like he slipped it in there
Yeah.
euphemistically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was like, "Oh, like I was really, wow, I'm really surprised that you guys been reading the Bible, like given that you guys weren't allowed to, or that you guys or weren't kept for so long, or
yeah,
something." Yeah.
and he was trying to slip it in like right when he was about to leave, like that was gonna be his last like statement, and I was ready to just be like, okay, we'll pray for him, and I like I look at you, and then you're like, yeah, I mean, though we wouldn't agree, you said, and I saw the man because there's this man and his wife, and he goes, he was about it, he was already turning to leave, and he's like, and that's when like we started talking, and I remember even asking them, I was like, you guys want to sit down? Like it's kind of uncomfortable too because we were sitting and they were standing, but the fact that you said that was a beautiful moment to also bear witness and like plant that seed, because they had some a lot of misconceptions, I'd say, about Catholics. But that's just more of what I was saying about the admiration I have toward you, of what could have been just a trivial passing by encounter interaction. I'm not gonna turned into an encounter because of what you said, and you were pushing back. You were giving verses. I I did my best to kind of be support and give some kind of tangible examples, because it had been a while since I had read up on uh, say biblical apologetics, and that was I always share that story because I think it's something really cool. Like you legit turn that interaction into an encounter. So I don't know. I think you had that thing that you were saying right now of like, if you feel that something must be said, you say it. Do you feel like that's kind of what happened in that interaction?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times too, when maybe that's also why I try not to get involved in too much in like the like heated debates or just. I guess that maybe I do. Maybe I'm just get involved a lot in discussions because
Well,
it.
no, yeah, I was just saying that's something. Sorry, that's something that's like I'd say is better, because I mean, yeah, you might get lucky and post a comment that some people will see and be like, "Oh yeah, that's a good point," but the odds of that happening are much less, as opposed to like going out and actually talking to people like you do. But sorry, continue.
Yeah, um, I forgot what I was gonna say, but maybe something else is that
Sorry.
also no worries, no worries. That just like how like the interaction that can be turned into and like lead towards Christ, right? I
Yeah.
guess that's what happens in my life, right? All these things that happen in my daily life, you try and offer it to Christ. Same thing with what people did to his life. People offer him all the evil, all the pain and disgust that they could throw at him, and all that that people gave him, he turned it into something better. And yeah, I try and follow in that example.
Yeah. No, yeah, you bring a really good point, because I mean, a lot of the fruits of Christ are that transformation, of death into life, and even right now, when where I was complimenting uh, what you did, it's that same. There's also transformation there, of from a trivial interaction to encounter with some sort of encounter where we were able to plant the seed. I pray. So I definitely do think, uh, for whatever that's worth, that I do think I see that in you, of Christ's example in you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Um. So anything you like to add?
um, I mean, um, when I don't know. There's a recent quote that I I heard. It's not like from the Bible or anything, but it's from a movie that I recently watched, Kingdom of Heaven, from the King Baldwin the Fourth. It goes something like at the end of your life when you are uh, judged, basically. Like you're not going to be judged on like, oh, like this person like expected me to do this, or this person, it's because this person um, didn't didn't teach me like I should have. Like that's not what's going to be what your salvation bears on, right? It's like God allows us to leave Him, and God allows us to abide in Him, and He wants us to abide in Him very much. And I would just encourage everyone to do so.
Yeah. And where's that from? You said?
The kingdom of heaven. I don't remember the quote, but it was something like that. It was like kind of take accountability for your life, for your salvation, that God has abundant grace that is available in the sacraments, in the sacramentals, and pursue Him.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I think just I don't know. I can't get over that trait and gift that you have, like that gentleness and welcoming kind of demeanor. That I think it's similar to some priests. This time I won't give names, but that have just a very calming kind of demeanor. That when you talk to them, kind of how I was saying about talking to people brings the level of discourse from kind of shoutful to just here. You and other priests and some people that I've encountered are their form of speaking has a way of bringing you level to each other to a point where conversation is more comfortable. And before before we do close, I think some like not rapid fire, but some Evan trivia dealing with because we talk about faith,
Yeah,
philosophy, and meaning.
that was your
Um,
old um, bio.
yeah, I think it's somewhere in there still on
Oh,
the.
I thought it
Yeah,
was
I
like
was.
Domini.
It was what?
Or you changed the nothing other than you, Lord.
Oh yeah. It was on my Instagram, but I think on the podcast one, I still have reference to faith, philosophy, and meaning. Um, yeah, no, that old podcast, I don't have access to it anymore. It's I tried because the program I had used to upload stuff was taken over by Spotify. So now when I log in, my account doesn't appear as mine. So if you notice, with my episode with Min and when this episode comes out, it's on a separate account that's still on with JCap, but not that on with JCap. Um, so, but I figured I couldn't change it if I have this in print. It's kind of. All right. So to go with faith, who's your confirmation saint?
Saint Ambrose,
Saint Ambrose. When were you confirmed?
2016, probably
2016.
sophomore in high school.
So what was the reasoning behind choosing Saint Ambrose?
Well, I like the name, bro.
You
Like
like the
remind
name?
like broski, bro. That was the time where like I thought like I wasn't as,
Yeah.
but eventually I looked him up more, and apparently he had a big deal in the conversion of Saint Augustine as well,
Yeah.
and he was great early church father.
Very cool. See, for philosophy, it's not really philosophy, but who's someone that you look up to in the say more contemporary era? It could be. It doesn't have to be someone alive,
Hmm.
but someone a bit more recent than Saint Ambrose.
Okay, okay. Um, there's a great philosophy department at UCR. There's a guy, Julio.
I know you had me at the edge of my seat. I was like, "Hello, Melinda. There's a philosophy department."
No, but there's a guy, Julio. He's pretty likes talking philosophy, and but on YouTube, the also I listen to Bishop Barron a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Bishop Barron's one of those. intellectual heroes of mine as well. Especially, I I feel he also has that calm demeanor to him, where like he could say something. That's something that you guys have in common. We didn't get to portray that as much this past hour that you and I've been talking, because like how you said, like you are pretty witty and sometimes you make um funny comments, but I forgot what they asked Bishop Barron, and very seriously, he's like, "No, that's stupid," and it was just very like, and then he goes on to explain it very like intellectually and very um like it just very it makes sense, but he was just very blunt and very calm about it. So okay, yeah, Bishop Barron. What about closer in your circle, say family or within diocese? Well, because you technically go to two, no, two dioceses.
Yeah, I split between. Usually I'm in San Bernardino, but
Yeah. Like, is there a specific priest or a family member that you see as a good example?
where earlier you weren't naming priests or naming priests, or it's okay. Or,
You can name priest. You can name priest.
okay. Yeah, I mean Father Partida. I like Father Partida a lot.
Father Partida is great. Yeah. He's another one who I also, back when I was starting off, I asked him if he wanted to join the podcast.
You
But
probably do that, man.
yeah, but he doesn't want to do it online, I don't
Oh,
think.
okay.
And it's just, I don't have necessarily the materials yet right now to do it in person. No, yeah, Father Partida is also very, uh, a very holy person, I'd say.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
cool.
All right, Evan. It's we passed the hour mark. I think we had I wouldn't say one conversation. We had many conversations in one. Very fruitful. I'm very grateful for you being on. I know you said you're not a much of a social media person, but do you have anywhere that we could find you on, or you want to plug anything? Your new book?
um, no, having some issues with the editor. And I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's
I don't
fine.
have any. I don't post like that. But hey,
Okay,
pray for me
that's
though.
fair. Yeah, of course. We'll be keeping you in prayer with your schooling, with dentistry, going to the Navy, um, your continual witness of Christ among non Catholics. We didn't get to talk too much about it, but I'm sure you experienced that as well at UCR. Um, but yeah, hopefully I keep saying we as if there's a team behind me. But hopefully I get to have you back on and we could have an updated
Yeah, maybe
discussion.
one day in person, or maybe one day
Yeah,
in. Maybe I'd be down to. And yeah, I'm definitely available.
sounds good.
Um, the stipend coming in next week. I should expect the.
Yeah, it'll go along with your editor.
Yeah, join his Patreon.
Yeah, my locals like Matt Brad.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, thank you for being on. Hopefully, uh, I'll have some more episodes coming out too. And yeah, God bless you all who are listening, and even those who aren't.